Hello, Galaxy! I'm Chris Perillo, and you're watching the Locker Gnome Daily Report. No, you're not. You're watching a part of that. I'm streaming live on Twitch, as you know, every night, 6 p.m. Pacific. Thank you for joining me. And tonight, I'm trying something that's not quite new, but yet still is kind of new. It's new-ish. I've threatened to bring in guests, as I have in the past, and continue to refine that particular process. Tonight I'm joined by TravisMCP, short for Master Control Program. That was my guess, and I feel it was a pretty good guess. He's the person who unfortunately joined the other night and challenged me to continue to eat candy corns, and this would not stand. I could not abide by this. I wasn't sure what to do. So I said, hey, do you want to join me on Friday evening and possibly, geek out about one thing or another? And he said, sure. I mean, it's funny because we live in the same general area, in the greater Seattle area, and it's hilarious. Like it's funny that what I was not expecting to be able to do this as quickly as I could, but I guess that's the ease of the internet. So Travis, do you want to try to say something? Let's make sure your audio works. No. Okay. That does not work. So give me a second. Let me do this. This is why we test, right? This is why it worked before and then doesn't now. Give me a second. Let's do this. Show as tab. Okay, try it now. No, why can't I hear you now? What? It was working fine before. This is horrible. I'm doing this troubleshoot. Like, okay, that's not. Let's try. Let me see something else here. Let me try this. Now say something, Travis.
Yes. Hello.
Okay, that worked. It was a pebcac. It's Discord. So when I tried to mute the Discord tab, but keep your audio working just fine, and it did not like that.
I just told you the meaning of life, so I'm sorry that you missed
Oh, dang it. Well, you probably know more about tech than I do at this point, so I yield.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I will say this. You probably don't know this. Actually, I know you don't know this because I had to look it up. But January, February, March, April, because I have to do it that way to figure out what the fourth month of the year is. April of 2009. You were on my podcast, so
was it?
Not all. Yeah, April of 2009. I had to look that up. Many a year ago, back when I had a kind of variety podcast, and that was after going to one of your meetups in Seattle. So it's kind of a full circle thing. Many years later.
How do I not remember that?
Yeah, it was a very. I wasn't anybody. You wouldn't have known.
No, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, how do I not know that?
Man, you were just like, you were the man, dude. The fact that you even
I've never been the man, first of all.
Hold on for a second. Let's be honest. Now, I'm gonna Chris will never say this about himself, but
no.
I used to watch his live streams when they were called live streams with an F, right? And when I would be at work, I'd have his stream off to the right. No one would be in that room. You would just have it going. You wouldn't even be in there, and there'd still be like 200 people talking in the chat. I'm like, you, in so many ways. And then I remember that you were doing like articles for CNN, and I was like, oh, wow, that'd be so cool and incredibly inspirational, man. So, of course you're the man. So to say that is silly. Stop it.
No, honestly, I got to tell you though, that more and more, how do I explain this? I probably get more excited when I come across or recognize someone who is just getting started with pursuing their passions or interests, specifically in relation to technology, and putting themselves out there. To me, it's fascinating to see now, because there weren't a lot of us back in the day, and now there just seems to be one every second that pops up, and they're all amazing perspectives that they're sharing. And I kind of get excited and like accelerating those types of voices, the people that, may not be as well known as some of the people that many of us are aware of, but all the more reason that they need to be elevated. And I think I've always felt that way, but I don't think I've ever felt stronger about that as I do now, because there's just so much opportunity for creators, for any passion, certainly, but absolutely for their technology perspectives and opinions.
Yeah, 100%. And you were so kind with your time, and you brought over like 100 people to a live. You got to remember, 2009, there was no such thing as 100 people in a live stream, and I was like overwhelmed. I would normally have like 3 or 4 people in my chat, and then you came in and 100 people were there, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. And I was all nervous and everything. It's just so fun
Vendetta
to
underscore
think about those
returns
times.
gifted Alfday
And
Tech
it's
a
weird because, like
subscription.
anything else,
Vendetta
you never
underscore
know what
returns
you
gifted
say
a
or
tier
do
1
might
sub to
impact someone
Alfday
else.
Tech.
And
They have given
always an
4 gift
inspiration to me.
subs in the
So,
channel.
I am years later kind of doing something that I didn't really think that I could ever do, and I was like, oh, it'd be so cool if, just based on some kindness from people who didn't necessarily need to be as kind. I know you were a busy guy, but you were totally cool about it, so I appreciate that. So many years later, here you go. Thank you.
I am honestly not surprised that the industry has turned out the way it has, but being someone who has been there in the beginning, it's interesting to see the way that the industry has evolved. It's weird.
Yeah, think about it like this. You had a setup that most people, you would need quite a bit of hardware at the time, back in 2009. It wasn't impossible to stream, obviously, but it's not as common as it is now. Any smartphone for $50 can get you a live streaming. You know what I mean? Like, it really is so approachable by everybody.
Yeah.
Anyone can really do whatever. There's people walking around with TikToks with 1 million views that, work at a Burger King. You know what I mean? So it's, everything is so easy it's so accessible now. And I don't know, did you ever think it was going to be like that? I certainly didn't. I didn't know it would be like this.
I think when I started, I just did it because I could, and it was available to me, and the technology became easy enough and accessible enough, to your point, that I felt anybody could do it, but not a lot of people were doing it. Now, seeing the pervasiveness of technology now in the palm of our hands, these computer systems that can handle more than the computers that I used to live stream back in the day. I'm not going to say it gives me hope for the future, but I genuinely get excited with, I guess, the label that's being used, like small creators, which doesn't make any sense to me, or like growing creators, or creators who are wanting to start in any way and putting their ideas out there in one way, shape, or form. I would have loved to have seen that happen when I began with creating content, and I feel differently about it now. And I honestly get excited when I see a new voice enter the fray. Someone who is interested in talking about technology and has their perspective, and a unique perspective. They don't look and sound like everybody else, but they found their voice. That's exciting to see. And whether they have 100 people or 100,000 people who happen to be following them, I think that's something that I can get behind. And I like being able to find those types of creators before they grow, and I'm trying to do a better job, grow to the point where there is some degree of notoriety behind them. I'm trying to do a better job at finding them and elevating those voices. And so that's one of the reasons why Twitch has been kind of fun for me, because it's not as easy to grow on Twitch as it was on, or is on, YouTube.
I see you got some cheers and some bits and all types of stuff going on.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention. In fact, speaking of, I totally forgot. I'm in the hole. I've got candy corn that I've got to eat. I've got the 25 candy corn, so that means I've got like 25 left in the
the bank.
Yeah, I have it in the bank thanks to Graham. All right, here we go. And this is bad because I've also been drinking wine, but it's box wine, so maybe it's, it was destiny. Oh,
Just gross.
oh, it is. Yeah, but you know that's the funny thing.
Mm.
Back in the day, when I was live streaming, I know I said, "Oh, I was typically talking tech," but I did this stuff all the time. Oh, people forget that. Oh, so many of my videos were garbage. Oh, no, I'm not talking about how they look. I mean, like, they were just nonsensical fun.
Okay.
Oh,
Drink some water. Oh my god, it just looks terrible.
it is.
Oh god.
It is so bad. Wine doesn't help, man.
Oh my god, it's just nothing that can help that. I really don't think that candy corns are meant to be ate. I really don't.
No, they're meant to set on fire.
I think they're decoration at best.
Oh my god.
Really. Oh my gosh.
This is so bad. Yeah, so anyway.
Yeah. Back to your question.
Yeah, because I got to get my mind off what I'm doing right now. I'm someone who's always been a fan of live streaming because you never know what's going to happen. And that to me, that I think the game has changed with content creation. I think I've always been this way, like the live content creator, candy corn notwithstanding. But someone who just put himself out there. And I just so happened to be interested in technology. And so that was, you know, a kind of a basis or a foundation. But I was excited because I could live stream. I wasn't excited about the codecs that were being used or what system I used to stream. Just the fact that I could connect with other people. It hits you in waves, man.
Do you get those flavor burps where you burp and you taste the flavor?
Those are coming. Those are coming. It's going to be a Cabernet Sauvignon mixed with a candy corn. Nice bouquet. You can't do that now. You just can't. On YouTube, I could not upload this video to YouTube because the algorithm will go, we don't know what to do with this. We're not going to show it to anybody because candy corn and tech, those two things do not go hand in hand. You've got to live in a silo. This is where you exist. But a lot of my old farting around videos in my YouTube channel were just this. They were silly. And I had topics, and I dug deeper into certain topics. But most of what I used YouTube for back then is different from how the platform evolved. And now if you don't play to the algorithm, any of your community just doesn't exist. Like, your community is a very monolithic way of thinking about connecting with people. And that's one of the reasons why I've doubled down on Twitch. And that's where I feel like my community foundation is on Twitch. And I get excited every night when I stream there than I do when I upload a video on YouTube. Every time I upload a video on YouTube, even if I know I'm saying something that I know would resonate with people, they're not going to see it. Or they're not going to watch it because they've got, you know, shiny objects, you know, off in the distance. Even when you look at the mobile page for YouTube, or the mobile app on YouTube, right? You're watching the video, right?
Yeah.
You see one comment, and then it's like multiple thumbnails after that.
Yeah.
YouTube is not trying to connect you with other people. They're trying to increase time on site, and I don't fault them for that. I don't blame them for that. I think that's great. As a creator, yeah, I would like to, you know, have more people watch more of the videos. But it's that disconnect that ultimately drove me further and further away from quote unquote producing, if that's what you would call it, video for a platform that just did not seem to be a good fit for me. You know, the topic notwithstanding. I don't know if you've ever felt anything like that as someone who is definitely a better tech YouTuber than I ever was.
Well, so by the way, you got a bunch of stuff going on. Barnacles is in here.
Did we get a raid? We had a hype train going on. Oh, how many candy corns? I got to catch up on candy corns now.
Oh, you don't even want to know, man.
I don't want to know. Barnacles, thank you for the raid. This is TravisMCP. Barnacles, if you're not following Travis, you should. I don't know if you're doing much on Twitch, but certainly quite prolific on YouTube. A techie. Also on Twitter, you should give him a follow if you can and should. We'll catch up later, I guess. Thank God. I've got a stay of execution for the candy corns. Thank you, Barnacles, for the raid. So how do you feel then? Like when you upload a video, are you playing to your community? Are you playing to your base? Are you always thinking about the quote unquote algorithm?
Yeah, a little bit of everything because, and it makes it kind of frustrating because I remember when I was just kind of a viewer watching YouTube videos and I would hear these complaints about the YouTube algorithm, this and that. I was like, what are you talking about? You have however many subscribers and stuff. You always get views. Like I didn't know any better. And then kind of when I started doing it, I realized, wow, there's a whole other thing at play here. So I was obsessed with learning about it. So I took all types of courses and all this other jazz and realized it's a lot more complicated than just uploading a video and all your people are going to watch it because that's just literally not the case. And it can be totally frustrating when you spend time on something that you know is great and people like. Like I literally did a video the other day with Renee Ritchie, which was excellent. There's so much good information there.
I watched it. I watched it.
Wasn't it really cool?
It was excellent. And why I watched it, because it wasn't just Renee talking, it was the both of you going back and forth. And I tend to be drawn to that type of video content. And certainly, even if I know both personalities, both people, just having that interplay between people whose opinions you respect, you may disagree with them, but you respect. It adds a different level of immersiveness that you don't get when it's just a one-off. So I enjoyed that video, Travis, immensely.
Good, and it's more or less tanked. And it's one of the things that, like, you see the comments, people loved it, they enjoyed it, they watched the whole thing, and the thing tanked. And in talking to Renee, interestingly, he would tell me later, he goes, you know, I'm not really that worried about it because all my collabs tank too. And it's like, that's just,
here's why.
You know, there's people out there that would want to watch that content. And as good as YouTube is at surfacing cat videos and whatever else, there's just so much really excellent content out there that I think is being missed.
But you know, I believe, because it was an hour long, and the attention span is now a TikTok, right? And I'm not faulting TikTok. I feel I'm doing okay on TikTok. Just I'm an old man, but I started up on TikTok and it's doing well. You know, compared to a hour-long video that I felt had deep information and deep insight. I don't know if YouTube's built for that. And this is something that's difficult to convey. Like when I talk about live video, I had a video I talked about Twitch versus YouTube, and I felt like I was laying down knowledge for fellow creators that would be extremely valuable, but they'll never see it, and because it doesn't fit. And if I talk too long, even if it's in depth about a topic they care about, YouTube's not built for long form content. Despite them having the YouTube Live feature, it's an add-on. It's a distant second to what plays to the algorithm. So I don't know what they're doing messing around with shorts, because they might work.
You know why
but
they're doing shorts, right? It's obvious.
Hello. Why is anybody doing shorts? You know, I don't know if YouTube can pull it off, because so much of YouTube is baked into the culture of YouTube, not necessarily the format of the video, which is why live video is difficult and will be difficult to catch on, or long form video will be impossible to catch on in relation to YouTube, compared to short, algorithmic, pushed, certain tactics, and they've gamed it to the point where it's no longer fun to create content. For me, it's no longer fun to create content that way, because I'm conversational in style. I'm long form, which is why I always played better with doing live video, which is why Twitch is a better fit for me.
Sure, yeah. It's I agree, and I do live streams on YouTube on Saturdays usually before I release a video, but I do it as a community building thing. I don't expect anything from it other than to have fun. And when I do that, then it's fine. And every once in a while, I will put together a video that's just for my community and just have no expectations of it being like amazing and doing like 100,000 views or whatever.
It's so that speaks to my point. There's no community on YouTube.
Yeah, it's very difficult to find anything like that unless you're. So there's an exception. There's a young lady that I met at the Vid Summit. Her name is Emily D. Baker, and she somehow is really taking the live streaming thing and growing it on YouTube in some. weird. I mean, she's excellent. She's really awesome. She has a great personality, but she's fighting against what YouTube normally would be, which is like if you're a live streaming channel, you should not grow. Her channel's growing and exploding and doing ridiculous things, which is great. I'm glad to see that because that's what I want to see more of. But why isn't that the norm? Why
I
is it this
know.
weird edge case? You know, what
I
I mean,
mean,
she's like an edge case channel, but that should be the norm.
I don't think I would have changed my trajectory had it been the norm, but it wasn't. And I lived it, and it, YouTube Live it's a great idea, questionable execution.
Yeah, I mean, they what you notice that they do, interestingly though, is they do tend to add features that are already on Twitch, which is cool. The one thing they have not done, they've kind of done in a weird way, is like raid. There's no such thing as like a raid.
Yeah, I think that's coming, but yeah, there's no raid. But it speaks to the island. Every channel is an island unto itself. It's a very YouTube way of thinking, and Google has never figured out how to handle social. Never. I can't think of a time that YouTube figured out social media. Like, they just can't. They don't.
Yeah, it's interesting that I mean they're good at what they do, right? They can get people to binge for hours on end, but you're right. There's like no connection. There's not a lot of connection, not a lot of reason to connect with a particular channel, which is why like subscriber numbers themselves don't mean a whole bunch on YouTube, other than for things like sponsorships and stuff or
Right.
vanity. But they don't really have anything to do with like how many views you're going to get, or are all those people going to see your video. As a matter of fact, and for people who might be interested in it, I have no idea if people are interested in this. I have an analytic here that I can just tell you that,
Yeah.
that someone might think, oh, well, if you have, so I have 111,000 subscribers, which is okay.
Dude,
What,
that's
what people-
spectacular. You got a silver play button. I have a
do.
silver play button. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. I also have a-
Don't undersell yourself.
But check this out. So some people might think, oh, with 111,000 subscribers, you probably get a whole bunch of views because all of your audience sees all of your videos. Well, no. Here's the reality. I'm looking at my analytics of the people who have the subscriber bell notification on. I'm in the middle of what YouTube recommends, or YouTube has, is 16%. So that means 18,000 of those people actually have a notification on for my
Bigger
channel.
than me. Way bigger than me.
That's only part of it. Because the people who actually can get the notification is much smaller than that. It's 10%, so it's 11,000.
Oh my
so,
god!
And then
It's still bigger than me.
Well, but even then of those 11,000 people that get the notification, it's anywhere between 4 and 10% of people actually click it. So it's like we're talking hundreds rather than thousands of people, no matter what your subscriber size is. So it's been a very interesting lesson in how much subscribers don't actually matter
Right.
for a lot of these.
Well, the problem isn't that subscribers don't matter, but this is why honestly, how do I say this? I stopped subscribing to people and channels on YouTube. I just stopped. Because the moment I realized that no matter how many channels or people, whatever, I subscribe to, I would never see them. Because
Right.
YouTube's algorithm would push something else. I'm like, well, what's the point of subscribing to someone if you're never going to see the things that you subscribe to? And I'm not blaming YouTube. The problem is you have to play the game. And I'm horrible at playing that game. And if I played that game better, I know I would do better. And I'm not saying that I feel like I would be cheapening, the value of doing it. But it's just, if I feel like it's worthless to subscribe to someone I want to subscribe to, how do other people feel?
Exactly that. And they have like 500 to 600 people they're subscribed to because they thought, hey, I'll come back to this person later. Oh, squirrel, and then they're over here looking at something else. So I get it. Listen, at the end of the day, it is what it is. There are some great things about being on YouTube. I should say it's given me a lot of great opportunities. So I don't want to just hate on it and dunk on it. It is frustrating as a creator sometimes, but by the same token, I mean, it has afforded me some really great opportunities. I mean, I'm here, among other things that I've been able to do in the last couple of years. So, and one of the biggest things it's actually been able to do for me, which I'm super kind of thankful for, is to be able to give back to the community. Because I do try to build somewhat of a community on my channel when I can, especially through live streams. And I do give back to a lot of the people who, watch my channels. I usually do it, I don't do it publicly most of the time. Because I just think that when you do that, then everyone thinks it's some type of, contest, and then the wrong people end up winning, so to speak. I just pay attention to who keeps coming and who maybe needs something. And maybe I have an extra something laying around that I know this person needs, and and I've had that happen before, and there's never a better feeling than to get a message from someone who, like, you change their life by helping them, giving them something, or getting them something that wasn't that difficult for you to do because of where you are. And talking about the younger creators, I literally did a contest. What was it? I think it was either early this year or late last year, and invited all creators under like 3,000 subscribers to submit a video, and we just had people vote on it, and a whole bunch of great creators came out of that, and now I'm following them, watching them, and creators I would have never known about if it wasn't for this like contest. And it was so much fun to be able to give them kind of a platform to do their stuff, and it was I love doing that stuff. I really do.
Well, it's important to recognize that there are a lot of people out there doing what they're doing because they love doing what they're doing. And it's not something that every creator recognizes, because they think that well, I'm not going to say creators think this, but community may often think that it's a competition, like trying to pit one person against the other. And I've never felt that way. Our competition, if anything, is attention. It's not another individual. It's specifically only so much time in the day. And I'll watch something or listen to something regardless of, I never really look at audience size. Like, it could be someone with 10 people, but they're engaging, and I'm like, I'm listening, I'm interested, I'm tuned in, I'm absolutely there. The moment I do that, of course, the YouTube algorithm flips and says, oh, you're gonna watch this person's videos forever no matter what else you do, which is par for the course. But it sometimes that's where I feel the algorithm gets ahead of itself, in trying to promote and predict what it is that you're going to enjoy and watch to keep you sucked into the app. But the problem with that is, it's not so much that I'm interested in a certain type of information. I'm interested in a voice and following some individual's journey, which is probably one of the one of the reasons why I enjoy live video or live audio now with Twitter Spaces more so than I enjoy produced video.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, and there's some people that just dig live over something produced. I totally understand why. I mean, especially if you're doing something that you never. Well, of course, any live, you never know what's going to happen next. But there are things like there's like a gambling channel that I talk to, and they get tons of live people because you never know. They're going to lose all their money in the next spin. So there's like this intrigue of live where if it's a produced video, you already know what's going to happen. It says in the thumbnail and title, they won the money. Okay, I know. But if you're literally watching something live, like, you have no idea. And is Chris going to throw up all of those candy corn that you said? We have no idea. That's why we watch.
I haven't done it yet, but let me tell you, that's the thing about connecting with community live versus a recorded video. Like, when you're connecting with community live, and I realize I've probably been doing a horrible job connecting with community live tonight, but on the nights that I'm talking to somebody else, my attention is somewhat split. You have a chance to influence the direction of what happens, and that's to me that's always been the excitement of live, going all the way back, as opposed to doing something that I can do is, yes, produce a video. I'm just not a good video producer. I'm not a video creator. I may create video, but it stems from a live scenario, right? And that just doesn't. It works in certain circumstances and not in others, which is, to me, unfortunate if you don't use the right platform. And that's where I've found much more of a benefit of using Twitch than YouTube Live, despite what people feel about the platforms themselves. If they've never created on them, they're not aware of the shortcomings.
Yeah, of course. I mean, to be honest, like, both have shortcomings and both have strengths. And you just find certain people just vibe better with certain channels and certain platforms. And to be honest, like, to your point, I think if you just take a couple of random YouTube live channels and a couple of random Twitch live channels, you're going to find a community more so on the Twitch channels. And that's just, I mean, it's just the way it is, because that's just what Twitch has been built up on. I think YouTube's trying, and we'll see if they succeed. but I mean, it's cultural. Like it's this thing where it
Bingo.
started. Live was tacked on after the fact.
Bingo.
So they're trying to fit it in. It would be very difficult to do, but I mean, we'll see. They're definitely giving it a shot. They understand, like, all you have to do is look at some Twitch channels, streaming stuff, and understand that there's just so much potential there. And if you don't at least address it in some way, whether it be wrong or right, you're really missing out. So we'll see what happens.
You know, I would really like to, and I've doubled down on this, but it's really exciting when someone gets into something, and I'm into 3D printing, obviously, but that's not the only thing I'm into. But when someone in that community, you know, wants to live stream what they're doing, you know, they have a choice. Do I do it on YouTube or do I do it on Twitch? And I'm not saying my hope, but my belief is that with enough of a tipping point, Twitch can become a great platform for the techies for live streaming. And it's not that way right now.
Right.
But I've seen it slowly but surely. So I've been, you know, more than open, willing, and welcome to accelerating a new streamer on Twitch if their vertical might match, you know, an interest of mine, you know, tech or toy collecting, Lego, whatever, saying, all right, let's boost them, right? Forget the raid, but let's actually drive some attention to this person who's getting a start, just to give them a leg up where otherwise they wouldn't have it.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's important. And really, people are going to say, well, I'll do what I want. It's my thing. But I think it's incumbent on people to help those that you find talented, because it's just going to make the platform better. There's no reason to not bring up someone that you think is strong, because that means more people are going to watch and there's more opportunity for you as well. So it's just, there's no reason to like try to hold someone down. And I've just never, I've never thought, a lot of it I have to thank John Prosper for, because I think in a lot of ways he, you know, his shout out of me years ago, which kind of helped propel my channel, really put me in the right mindset of share it. Don't hold on. Like, you're not holding on to anything. You're not doing better by like trying to hold on this magical thing. There's nothing there to hold on to. And the same thing with you when, you know, you came on my podcast. It was the same idea. It's like, why not? And then Gary Vaynerchuk said something one time. He's like, yeah, I'll go on almost any podcast. If it's 2 or 12 people or 100,000 people, I'll do any of them because I want my voice everywhere. And I was like, that totally makes sense. You know, I was like, why wouldn't I do that?
There's no reason why not. There rarely is. That's it all boils down to what you're interested in, how you care to deliver your passions or interests, and where that needs to be for optimal output.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, listen, the things that made YouTube and Twitch interesting were the people on it. Like, in a lot of ways, what made them so popular were the not as slick produced stuff. Because you could see produced stuff on television, right? Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, some of it's interesting to watch, but that's not how they got there. They got there with, you know, bit my finger and, you know, Charlie bit my finger and that sort of things. Those moments that that happen that are by people who are, you know, just that next door neighbor guy or that next door neighbor kid or girl or whatever. And that's what I think is a special thing about being online.
We're getting some we're sending off some pretty good vibes. I've been watching chat. I haven't been able to address it all like I normally do, but people are like, you know, I think someone said, "Oh, these two would be great together on a podcast. Stop watching, just listen to Chris and Travis. Is so good." It's so funny. You did a podcast with Greg.
I still do.
Greg?
I do one with Greg from Grace Gadgets. It's called Gadget Cast. You're totally welcome on if you want to come over sometime.
I disagree with. I somewhat disagree with some of his perspectives, but you know, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Good thing. That's totally a really good thing because I'm under this. We have this kind of inside joke in there while I'm trying to cancel Greg. So it'd be great to have you on. To help me cancel Greg. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. Abort, retry, and fail. I don't know if there's a cancel in there somewhere.
I think it'd be fun. You should totally come over. That'd be super fun.
Sure. I'm usually up for having those kinds of conversations. You know.
What do you think about Facebook and well, it's mostly Facebook that's buying a lot of the Twitch, gaming streamers mostly, and kind of bringing it over.
It's trying to buy influence, and that doesn't work. I mean, it does. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's not something that's not organic. has a more difficult time not just gaining a foothold but retaining it. And I'm a big believer in organic grassroots engagement, connection, acceleration. It's one of the things that, you know, being early on YouTube was that's what made it so exciting. Being early on Twitter made it so exciting. Being early on Ustream, it made it so exciting because the rules hadn't been written yet. And for an entity to come along and said, we need to emulate that feature because there's big money there, I'm not going to fault them. But I've been on Facebook for years, and they can change on a dime. Yep. And this is how I feel about YouTube and live streaming. It's a feature. It's not the feature. Versus Twitch, it's the feature. Like, it is literally the feature. What's good is that with Facebook and YouTube coming along now, I think if you look at, let me see, because I was looking at other Twitch pages today as I was like surfing around and seeing who was on the Twitch profile. There are new options. You can now rewind the stream, go back 2 minutes. You can set a remind me button for their next live stream. Like, you know, watch a trailer if you're so interested. So Twitch is, they weren't doing that for the longest time. And now they started doing that. So I like and welcome, and I'll say this with anything. People rib me and they say, well, what do you think about Apple doing their own processors? AMD, this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, because I work for Intel, right? And I'm like, competition's good. Like, how could you say I mean, it keeps everybody on their toes. As an end user, put my employer, this is my personal opinion, put my employer to the side for a second. As an end user, as a quote-unquote consumer, if you will, as a customer, I want that because I get a better product. I get a better service. Because without competition, we get Internet Explorer 6.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Like the things that are happening in technology right now between the different companies and how they're able to push the envelope. One will do something and you're like, holy crap, and then the next one does something, you're like, holy crap. Like, these are the things that will help you know, raise the entire industry, you know, and move it forward. I mean, if you think about it, we were all doing mostly MySpace for the longest time, and then Facebook, and then Twitter, and Instagram. Like, all these things continue to come and be the disruptor. And, you know, once upon a time, Amazon, you only bought books on Amazon. So, you know, these disruptive things are good things.
I you know, I got to tell you, it's not always fun when you're at the other side. Sorry, I'm like batting, and there's like a fruit fly buzzing around. So if you see me like gesticulating, it's not because I'm Italian in this way. Well, it is, but like, you know, it's because I'm getting there's a fly that's buzzing around. Yeah, it's that, to me, that's how I feel about Facebook and live video. Even to a certain degree, Amazon and live video. I think it's a great idea. It's the question of whether or not the culture is there. Whether or not, you know, it's grassroots enough to feel like a community. And that's the thing. For as long as Justin TV / Tech TV, sorry, Twitch.tv, Tech TV is a completely different brand. Wow, I can't believe I said that in this video. Usually it's a drinking game. Okay, everybody take a drink. I said it. Apparently I have a drinking problem. You know, it still has that community feel. Twitch still has that, and I attribute that to the nature of Twitch knowing that it's live streaming and connecting the creator with the community and being there at that crossroads. And I'm not sure Facebook is. I don't think YouTube's interested in that, and I don't think that I don't think that YouTube's interested. YouTube, did I say YouTube already? YouTube and this is good wine. Did I mention this? This is freaking great. YouTube and Facebook, but Twitch is still, it has stayed true to its roots. So it's easy enough for someone to jump in. Just add community, basically, is the bottom line.
Pretty much. But always the new cool hotness will be the thing that pushes things forward. If you look at Clubhouse, then you know, Twitter added their little thing, and then they
I'd
kind
keep
of
an eye on Spaces. I think
Isn't it
Spaces
cool?
is yeah. I feel that Spaces is disruptive to podcasts. I feel that Spaces is disruptive to, I mean, yes, to Clubhouse, but it's 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 incredibly disruptive. It's disruptive to bits and pieces scattered about the internet because you've got a social graph you've been building for how long, right? You've got an audience or, community you've been cultivating for how long. And to be able to tap in directly to them and have this conversation and potentially like, hey, I'm going to geek out. Oh, I can invite so and so up as a speaker, right? As a co-host. And then
Right.
suddenly you've got a live dynamic podcast that you could participate in. And if they continue to evolve that such that it could be time shifted and created as and exported as a podcast, I'm not going to say it's game over, but
Right.
it starts to move the direction that I felt podcasts needed to go years ago, because there are communities around podcasts, but you don't really get a community sense or feel around podcasts. To be able to with your accounts connected and all that, to be able to listen to a stream. Let's say, Travis, you and I were geeking out about the Pixel 6 Pro. I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
What?
The Pastel 6 Pro. Because of those are the only colors you can choose, because those naturally are the only colors anyone would ever want in a smartphone. I think we can agree.
Of course.
So we're both talking about the Pastel 6 Pro, and you gotta love that. We're geeking out, and someone says, "Man, this is great. Here's $1," right? And so between the co-hosts, we're able to the platform's able to split that dollar after they take their cut, 20%, whatever it is, and suddenly we've earned 40 cents a piece by doing a podcast that was produced but disconnected from the community versus this live dynamic feel where it's all baked into a social graph that already exists. And that is incredibly disruptive. And as a creator, very exciting. So I haven't been doing it every single day, but I've been trying to set aside a time during my breaks to think about, okay, what could I talk about? What am I interested in? What could I geek out about? And just experimenting, because right now it's just a big experiment. But Twitter would be remiss if it didn't pursue that to its fullest extent. So I'm looking at Twitter Spaces as like kind of an early days of Twitch, as an early days or Justin or Ustream, early days of podcasting to a certain degree. It's a familiar context. I think the culture will evolve. I think the culture of Twitter will adapt. I really do. I don't think it's an outlier. I think if they do it right, and eat their own dog food and listen to community, Twitter Spaces could be a boon for creators. That's my feeling.
Yeah, and honestly, I was excited when the feature rolled out. Haven't used it too much lately, but I was excited for it because really, primarily, it's my number one social media. So I'm on Twitter all the time. So I was like, oh, this is great. Instead of having to kind of grow my influence on a completely new platform to do anything cool, I already have my followers on Twitter. So now if I just run one of these up, we'll see what happens. And I think probably since I last used it, it's much better because they've added new things. What do you think about like the super what is it, where you can like pay to be in the room, like the monetization of those rooms? What do you think about that?
I think every option they give to producers, the better. I have no problem with setting the stage for a valuable experience. I mean, I've hosted real world events. So ticketed spaces, I think that's the terminology that Twitter uses, I think is going to be very useful for people who have insight and intelligence that is very, very valuable, as opposed to information that is free. You've got intelligence and you've got information, and the two should be completely separate, because you could listen to information all day long, but you still have to synthesize. But if you're getting something that's extremely valuable, there's a value on that. My feeling is that ticketed spaces won't work as well as enabling community, much like you can on YouTube or Twitch, to cheer or super chat or whatever syntax you care to use for that particular feature, to be able to support their creators like that, you're going to have less friction and higher engagement than you will by throwing a paywall. And I think there's a time and a place for a paywall. Like I was always interested in Patreon for what it could have done, and has done for a great many people who have created value, with whatever it is that they happen to be sharing. But it's different with, I think, live audio, because people have already contextualized that as not valuable, when in fact it may very well be.
Yeah, yeah, you're 100% right. And again, some of this is cultural, where you're used to whatever the platform has told them the platform is, and when something comes along and you need to change your mindset behind it, it sometimes takes people a little bit of time to then kind of say, oh, okay, I get it now. So instead of what I used to do, A, B, there's now this new option, D. So now I can do A, B, and D, and it's kind of cool, and there's nothing wrong. I don't have to be scared of it. And same thing for the creators portion of it. It's like, you were doing this thing, and now we're adding this new kind of option, and you should use it. It's good for you. There are more options for you. And some creators jump right on it right off the beginning. They're like, oh, I want to get on this, which is cool. And then if for some reason something goes wrong, whether it be, it's half-baked, it's not technically kind of proficient, it's not super successful as soon as it comes out, then people will immediately abandon it. So remember Byte? Like, I don't even remember what happened to Byte. Like, Byte was out for a week.
That.
Is it even still active? I don't even know, So, everyone real quick jumped on it, made sure I got my name, and then I never heard about it again. I never logged back in. So, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, the array of options that are now available, this is where, I'm very happy to have found a place and a format and a medium where I didn't feel like Twitch did not work for me back in the day, because I'm not a gamer. I don't really do that. I will game on. I've promised this. Like, when there's a Cuphead sequel, I'll be playing it. Potentially the Star Wars, the new the Lego one. I want to play through that whenever they release it. Any Star Wars game that might be interesting. But as me as a creator, that's not how I spend a lot of my time, or how I would choose to spend a lot of my time. So Twitch to me became interesting because it allowed or afforded an opportunity to just chat and to hang out, and to connect with other people. And I feel like that's where Twitter Spaces is as well. Not just to just talk, but to also have an opportunity to interact with the people who are listening. So it's very new. It's just being baked, but I'm very interested in being a part of being able to help shape its direction. So I've joined every quote unquote Spaces chat that I can find, like, from the team, like, just to listen in to see what they're thinking, and potentially even be able to help provide some degree of feedback to influence product.
Yeah. No, there's so many cool options. And then, like, again, you hat off to Clubhouse for kind of coming up with this thing that's so simple. It seems like sometimes the most simple thing is the most popular. Voice is so 12 steps back from 8K video. You know what I mean? Like, we were going so big with that, and all of a sudden, voice, such a simple thing, was so incredibly popular.
Because I'm telling you, it's about connecting with other people. Yep. And that's what it comes down to. And I'm gonna go to chat here for a second. Largo Sensei says creative was a thing before HT pools and beaches. Yeah, hot tubs. I haven't done a hot tub stream yet, but gladly creative is coming back. So creative's coming back as a category on Twitch, which is amazing. It's fantastic. And that's, to me, I did a video that I don't think tracked well with the algorithm, but the people who have seen it, it's resonated with, talking about overproducing videos to the point, and this is why I probably have enjoyed the videos that I've watched from you that are very conversational in nature, like your journey, how you got sucked into the Apple ecosystem, right? And I'm listening, I'm kind of laughing, like, yeah, I've been there, done that, and then slowly have been extricating myself from it beyond that. But it was very, because I'm listening to someone. I'm not listening. I'm not watching a commercial pitch. I'm not watching an influencer. I'm just listening. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm connecting with the person on the level because I feel I can connect with them. But the more produced these videos are, the more disconnected I am from the person
Right.
who is sharing that insight. And that to me is, I think, I don't think that's what's wrong with a lot of the tech videos out there, nor do I think that's what's wrong with people who consider themselves techies. It's just that we've gotten to a point where a lot of those authentic voices has been drowned out because they've produced for an algorithm rather than for a community.
Right.
And they're regurgitating something that anybody could regurgitate rather than just being themselves because they're playing to a platform rather than just putting themselves out there. And that to me is the one of the challenges I have when it comes to watching tech videos these days. It's very difficult because if I've seen one, I feel like I've seen all of them.
Right. Yeah, you know, the thing is, what's really interesting about this, if you really kind of step back from it all and you look at what's happening, you'll find that so many of these mainstream celebrities are now getting YouTube channels showing literally the exact opposite. They're not doing the highly produced stuff. They're doing the kind of vloggy type stuff. And it's funny to see like the YouTubers trying to go the opposite direction. So it's like you have people that have, quote, made it going more simple and people that have, quote, not made it try to go more complicated. And it's like, well, you know, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Like, have something that looks nice, but it doesn't have to be like this 10-minute B-roll of a coffee. Like, it doesn't have to be. I mean, if that's your jam, cool. But let me know who you are, and let me think that if I ever met you someday, you're gonna say, "Hey, it's nice to meet you." You know what I mean? Like, let me vibe with you on that. You know. And by the way, like the couple times that I've met people, you know, people recognize me in the somewhere. They've been really cool people, and I enjoy. That's one of my favorite parts of doing this is meeting people that know your content and are like, "Hey, man, I saw you do this thing or whatever," and now I'm making that in-person connection. It's the missing bit, and you know probably better than anyone because you've been doing it for so long that your connection with your community is important, but you actually don't get it as much as people might think because really you're talking to a camera. You see the text, you see the the chat and cool, that's cool, but it's not until you are out in the store and someone goes Chris, and there's that moment of like connection where like it all comes together in one kind of glorious thing.
So then let me ask this. What does it take to be a quote unquote successful, because that's a nebulous term, what does it take to be a successful tech YouTuber today, from your perspective, and however you determine success? Because I think I would put you in a category of successful.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think anyone who does it probably doesn't think they are, and I question myself often. But
We all do. Imposter syndrome.
we all, 100%, 100%, it's there. You either are good, lucky, or sketchy. Is pretty much the three things that I can come up with. You're either good and people just gravitate to you because your personality is there and you're doing something authentic and cool and real. You're lucky, or you just happen to do the right thing at the right time, and sometimes things work. Or you're doing something sketchy and you're saying something and is going to be in the video and it's not in the video, and the YouTube algorithm just kind of keeps kicking it out. So I mean, I don't want to sound so jaded by the whole thing. I think the good and the lucky are the things you'll see more often than the sketchy. But I mean, that's what I've seen, having talked to tons of creators. Is it's kind of one of the things I do during the week, and seeing some incredibly talented people, which is great. That's the most people that I talk to, and then the incredible lucky people who have no idea how hard it is to get to where they are. For example, there's a family channel that I kind of help with their YouTube stuff. And like a year ago, they had 4,000 subscribers, and now they're close to 1 million now. Now that journey is insane, but they don't know anything different, right? Because it's their only experience. So that when I tell them, no, you guys are in the top like 3% of what happens on YouTube, and you just have no idea. They have no understanding of like how many years people will be on YouTube with 300 subscribers. So, that's kind of, and there's a little bit of luck. Now they're good, but they're also lucky because there's a lot of other creators who have, you know, better, whatever that means, content that will never get those kind of views and those kind of opportunities. So, listen, I say if you're interested in throwing something out there, you have I think if you have an opinion on something, especially if it's strong, throw up a video. Why not? I mean, it can't hurt. And you know, if you, I think the smartest thing to do is to go into it with very little expectation. Like go into it, do your best, but have fun. Because if you turn this into a job, everyone thinks, oh, I want to be a YouTuber. Trust me, it's just another job. A job ain't nothing but work, Chris.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I do. And I think that's where the switch flipped for me, because I was never a YouTuber. Yeah, I signed up back in, what, 2006? When it was just another video portal. I think, what were the other websites at the time? The places where you could host video. And there were an array.
Daily
oh my god! There was
that,
yeah. I'm not even sure if that was around.
Wasn't around, huh?
No, this was early days. I mean, this was the days where the best way to get people to watch your video was to host it on your own website, or that was still a question. You know, podcasts were great, but no one wanted to give their data to any other third-party website because they hosted their own blog. So that was the era. I mean, I definitely grew up long before then, but like in terms of being a creator, grew up in a time where, you know, I could put something up and out, and the people that were interested in me would be able to see it and connect with it. And now I'm not going to say everything's flipped, but if I'm not, as someone who might create video live, as we're doing now on Twitch, if I'm not doing it a certain way, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if someone wants to connect with me, they never will, because they won't see the thing that I'm doing, because there's so much out there and there's so many people. And despite it's a frustration, because I will very frequently get asked, and you may have the same problem, hey, why don't you talk about this? I'm like, I literally did, like, a week ago. Like, why don't you do this more often? I'm like, I literally did.
Right.
Yesterday. So you get frustrated as someone who's creating the content that people say they want to see, but they ultimately don't see it, because there's a disconnect between them and the creator. There's no direct relationship between a viewer on YouTube and a creator on YouTube. And that's where I find live video, specifically on Twitch, to bridge that gap.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't...
It's also easier to redo something real quick for you. Like, let's say, hey, can you talk about this? And you say, well, you know, if I produced a video, it takes a while to do that. I don't want to have to redo another video. But here in a live stream, let me just answer your question again. Here's your answer. And then you move on. You know, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of really cool. One of the things I love about my live streams is just being able to be off the cuff and not have to worry about messing up, and not have to worry about. I mean, you do want to have subjects, but like most of the time, I just riff off of what's going on in the chat. We just talk.
Yeah.
We just vibe, and you do that too. And it is not easy. Some people might think, oh, it's so easy. You just talk to It is not easy to have like no co-host and to talk for 2 or 3 hours. Like, that's what you're doing. It's a skill, and it's so underrated, because when people see someone do it, they think it's easy because you make it look easy, but not because it is easy. It's not easy. I remember the very first time I was on live stream, like, what do I say next? Like, what am I supposed to do next? But you know, once you've done it for a while, you get kind of good at it. But I'll tell you, if you were to try it for the first time, you're gonna step up there, you're gonna get your camera going, you're gonna be like,
That's why I eat candy corn.
Exactly. Which, by the way, I believe you're in debt or something.
I know I'm further in debt with all the chairs that have come in. I'm going to ask you something that's very controversial, and
go for it.
Feel free not to answer this question, but what is the best smartphone of 2021?
We have to wait to see next week when the reviews come out for the Pixel, because right now so many people are kind of just losing their thing over the Pixel. So we'll see. It's too early to say. I would say Pixel's definitely in the running now. It's something that's interesting because they've really turned a corner and had some very forgetful phones for a while. But this might be the year where they actually have done something and it might stick. and we'll see that the hype is really, really building with people who don't normally get caught up in hype, and that's what's intrigues
Really?
me. Yeah.
I mean, I understand what they're doing with their the tensor uh, thing. Not being a
Mhm.
hardware guy, I get it. But to me, the software, even running it on a Pixel 4 XL, has me kind of scratching my head.
Well, because it's not vanilla Android anymore, so no one uses vanilla Android. Like no one really uses vanilla. They always put some type of skin over top
Yeah,
of it.
but why did they have to sting it with a bee stinger to make it like blowed up and get infected so that everything's padded and
Well,
bulky and bloated?
because you don't have as many marketing points in your presentation if you don't have these cool features and stuff that are outside of the normal Android. I mean, you just don't, right? So think about Samsung, who created a bunch of cool things that eventually became part of Android years before. So like reverse wireless charging and all these things that are now part of like Android. And a lot of things with like the where you pull down the shade and some things you can do there that was a part of Samsung Skin before it became a part of like Android. So I don't think it's a bad thing, especially some of the things that Google showed off with like the ability to go through the phone tree and not be on the phone. To me alone, that might be worth a buy just for that,
So
because it's an
wait,
actual use case. That's
have you
huh?
pre-ordered then? Sorry if I've missed
No, I
this.
didn't. I
You
didn't.
didn't. Okay.
I didn't because I wanted to see what was. I still am going to wait for the reviews. I'm waiting for the other hammer to drop because this dual embargo thing's been fairly
Uh,
controversial.
don't get me
So
started.
I don't, the more I think about it, the dual embargo. So let's first of all break down what dual embargo is because a lot of people might be going, what the heck are they talking about? So an embargo is when a company sends you something and says you cannot publicly disclose these things. I'm sure you've been under embargo before and probably are at this moment. And you cannot publicly disclose these things until a certain date. A dual embargo, which is kind of interesting because you don't see all that many of them, is when a company says you can talk about these things on this date and then these things on another date. And it's not used as much as some people would like to say it's used. A lot of times it's just for whole products. You can do a review on this date, you're done. But what Google has done, and the fallout from it is interesting because I think it actually ends up evening the playground. Here's the biggest problem as tech YouTuber: if you are not super huge, you don't get access to like the latest tech. And as soon as the latest tech comes out, and the super huge tech creators who got it, and they drop all the reviews, and you get your product because you had to buy it a week later, you are now 4 days after all the tech reviews came out. So like
Wait.
an
So
iPhone, for
wait.
example.
Hang on. No, could you say that
Yeah.
again?
So, for example, Samsung phones but more so like Apple products are given to tech creators, certain tech creators, up to a week in advance before you can buy them, before you get them. So their reviews come out the week that you'll end up getting
Right.
your
Right.
product. So the
Right.
Monday and then Friday you might actually get it. So for tech creators that are smaller, they don't get that. You're behind a week. You can forget about doing a regular review because everyone's already seen it. They don't want to see
Yep.
it, right?
Yep.
In this
Yep.
particular case, Google actually has leveled the playground. So it's kind of interesting because now no one can release their review until this date. And the smaller creators who are now being a part of this kind of Team Pixel thing are able to put out a review the same. I'm still, it's going to be a big cluster the day up. Monday's going to be a cluster because that's when they come out. But at least the small creators have a fighting chance, which I kind of dig. This whole Team Pixel thing is really interesting because they've been targeting smaller creators to send phones out to. And I think that's kind of cool. Now, what I see Kurt saying in the chat, which also was not necessarily untrue, the dual embargo thing is usually a big red flag, and it usually is. So you look at something like, this past year, last year I think it was, Cyberpunk, the embargo for that, where they didn't even allow people to see, like the Xbox version of the game, which of course pretty much tanked their stock once it came out and all the reviews came out that it was terrible. The Duo, I think the Microsoft Duo last year, I believe, had some type of weird embargo too. And then when the reviews came out, the reviews like it's not really that great, but people had already placed their pre-orders. So typically those type of things are a red flag. But in this particular case, based on the fact you literally can go to Best Buy and see the Pixel and play around with it, and the fact that we've seen some leaks, it doesn't seem like there's going to be this big other shoe that's going to drop on Monday, which is what everyone's waiting for. So this might actually be a heck of a
Yeah.
phone, and it just might be they're using a dual embargo just for a good reason. I don't
But
know.
that's the thing is like there's nothing that they announced that wasn't already out there. Like I'm
Yeah,
looking, I'm like, there's nothing. What am I? What's the
they
why?
everything was leaked before. So Google has done an interesting thing the last 2 years. They have, once things started leaking, they started leaking it themselves. So like they leaked the Pixel 6 like 4 months ago, and we're like, we'll see you in like 4 months. And they
Right.
even put it out in their Google store in New York where you can look at it. It's been there for months. So they've kind of they're jumping on the. This is an interesting kind of strategy because I don't know if it's going to work. They're kind of going almost meme culture in the fact that they are saying, okay, internet, we can't beat you, so we're going to join you. We're going to join in on the leaks. We're going to get the smaller YouTubers stuff. We're going to do all these things that all the bigger guys won't do, so you'll be on our side. Now, it looks like from a review perspective, it's going to work, but whether or not that moves the needle for actual purchases beyond the grand scheme of the internet, when someone walks into a Best Buy or a AT&T or T-Mobile and says, I need a new phone, which one do you suggest? And they go, well, iPhone, because everyone has one, or Samsung, because that's what people know. I don't know what a Google Pixel is. I don't know what that is. So they have that problem to overcome, but they are kind of saying, listen, we can get the internet on our side. Maybe it works. I don't know.
I feel that, and maybe this is hitting too close to home, but being someone who is a software enthusiast and who pays attention to software more so than hardware, that is probably the biggest hurdle that the Pixel has to overcome. Because the Pixel story has always been a software story, a services story. And I feel they've done a better job with the software in years prior compared to what I've experienced with Android 12 on a Pixel 4 XL, not currently having a 6 Pro in my hands. I don't know if, allowing people to change colors with compatible apps or making, I guess, more beautiful widgets, aesthetically speaking, if that's your thing, I don't know if that's going to be enough, because I don't think that type of thing moves people off of iMessage.
Right, that's a tough one.
You
I even
can't.
fight
I
that
mean,
myself.
I just, and this is one. Honestly, I'll tell you. When I was listening to you, like, I started using this, but that, and this, but that, and this, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how I was, and it was easy when you're living in the ecosystem. But the moment you introduce a Chromebook,
Yeah.
or the moment you're testing, or you're dealing with another problem over here with another system, then you realize that's where the ecosystem breaks down. And that's the thing is, if you're not all in, it's on. I will say this: it's easier to be half in, half out when you're talking about Mac OS. It is, but when you're starting to talk about ancillary devices like an Apple TV or your phone or a tablet, that's where you have to
You almost have to jump all the way in.
You do.
You almost have to get the entire thing.
And that's something that I realized broke down because the iPhone was basically the linchpin, right? Because the iPhone sucked me in. For me, I used a Mac. I attributed switching to a Mac largely, or I think 3 reasons, and I can't remember the exact 3 that I used to quote all the time. But the first was, Leopard came around, and Leopard was solid. The second was Apple moving to the Intel platform, which is a big deal for me. And then the third was Windows Vista. So it was Vista that pushed me away that back then, because I was like, this is not the direction I want to go. I appreciate fit and finish and spit and polish with my software. And that's a story that has not changed. Like, even today, I still very much view these things through a software lens, which is where I became very critical with Apple and have pushed for a better experience that I can't. I appreciate that you see a benefit in how everything works together, but I can't get to that point because either A, I would never use those features, or B, because the general software experience on each independent device doesn't live up to an experience that I might have on another device. And when I say,
can be the case.
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, because it's like I get it. Like I totally understand. I like I wish it was. I wish I didn't see the things I see. I wish I was more of a hardware person than I am a software person, because it would be a lot easier to accept certain what's the word I'm looking for? Certain you have to shortcomings. Certain what?
Compromises.
Thank you, thank you. That's exactly the word I was looking for. Compromises, and I feel even in talking, the video I uploaded to YouTube today was about God, what was it? It was yesterday was Samsung internet browser on Android. Today was how iOS is not as fluid as Android.
Right.
And it was specifically in relation to Anantech wrote up an article suggesting, and this is something that I saw. I didn't need the data to prove it, but I could see that animations are capped on an iPhone 13 Pro Max.
Yeah.
And coming from or moving or going from, let's say, what is this? It's a Samsung Galaxy Ultra S21 Pro Premium Platinum, whatever the hell. It's fluid, like through and through, and that's how Android works. It's like if it's this, it's that for the entire system. But Apple on the iPad Pro, it's uncapped. It's like it's 120, unless the app says no, not 120. But on the iPhone, it was the opposite. They flipped the script, right? So I noticed that right away. And I was like, why did they? I mean, you could think of like 13 different reasons as to why they did that. But no one was really speaking to that. So then when I saw Anantech's article saying that specifically, look, it may be showing 120 FPS, but it isn't 120 at all. Like, not even close, specifically in the animations.
Yeah, I made a video about that when right after it first came out. I said, don't upgrade for this particular feature. And I was talking about 120 hertz because I didn't really feel the difference as much as I did when I had the Galaxy Fold 3, and you just felt it every single second. You just didn't. iOS had always been kind of smooth for me anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But when you set the expectation for 120 hertz, you're expecting another level of that, and I never felt it. And then right around the time I was doing, in the middle of the edit, is when a lot of those articles started coming out about the animations and that it's going to be fixed in an update and all this other stuff. And I'm like, so it wasn't just my feeling; it was a real thing. And it was nice to be able to, in the middle of editing something that was more like, I feel this way, I just can't prove it, to be able to slap in some slides that go, no, it's really there, and it's a real thing. And it's interesting because people still will get very. I do a series of videos about brand loyalty, which I think is every year I do at least one, where I talk about why putting your self-value into a product is kind of a bad thing to do. It's just not a good thing for anyone to do. That my phone somehow tells you how good of a person I am or how important I am. It doesn't. So it's that mindset when you see someone in the comment section, when something's demonstrably true, kind of figuring out some way to wiggle around it and go,
yeah,
no, you're wrong. It's not that way. It's better. Blah, blah. It's like, no, dude, doesn't mean that the product's not good. It doesn't mean that you're not a good person for liking. It doesn't mean any of those things. But even though you're acting like that's exactly what it means, all it is that there's a fault here. It needs to be fixed. There it is, and let's move on. But some people just can't. They feel like you're attacking their worth as a human, and it's just weird.
Well, it's like when you project your identity onto a device, that's where there's problems. Like, this becomes your identity, and that's my big concern, I think, with iMessage in general, or that kind of attitude where the blue bubble or the green bubble, right? And I've known that feeling, right? Being a blue bubble, I know the green bubble. Like, man, really, we can't do all these awesome things together. Yeah. So I understand that, but it becomes a part of that experience that does things to us that I find to be divisive and not for technological reasons, right? It works, and it could work. It's just that it doesn't fit the business model to work. And as an
Right.
end user, or I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
As someone who is a user advocate and always has been, I understand the business model. It's not that I don't understand the business model. I accept the business model. But when technology changes our behavior, that's where I take a step back and say, all right, I'm not talking about, hey, there's a better camera. Great, now I can do something I couldn't do before. I'm not talking about that scenario. I'm talking about a scenario where I change my behavior and segment other individuals based upon their choice of technology. It's divisive, and the power and promise of technology is bringing us closer together. And
Yes.
I believe that building to a better future involves competition in the marketplace, and the speeds, and pushing the envelope and trying new things. That's the beauty and wonder of technology. It's the thing that's always gotten me interested. But the moment that it drives a wedge between, I'm not going to say factions, but individuals, and demonstrably so. Like if I'm chatting with you on Twitter, I don't know what you use. I mean, I could look at the little, what's the metadata that says, oh, use, Twitter for iPhone or whatever it is. But I'm like, who can we're tweeting back and forth. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to reply to you because you're tweeting from an iPhone, or you're tweeting from an Android device, or you're tweeting on the desktop. I'm better than you. And like that, to me, that is, I don't know why more people don't talk about that, as opposed to the speed of something, or how something is perceived to be in terms of this is the new product as opposed to the old product. We're always going to see new products. We're always going to see better products. We're always going to have that competition, which is awesome. It's where having a better product allows you to do better things, allows you to do the things better than you could before. And that's, again, with the love of technology, but it's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's when it's that rift that divides us that I'm not very excited about as a human being.
So one of the things that I can't remember which one, because I think I've done 4 or 5 of them, of the brand loyalty videos. I did a little research about the way kind of people interact with each other, especially when there's groups. And that one of the things was a study somewhere that, or maybe it was the tech YouTube is killing itself or something video I did. You might like that one. Where it was essentially a study that said that they found that people who would normally not engage in negative behavior would, if they saw anyone else leave like a negative comment. It was just easier because someone kind of someone made the new pattern and they just followed it. They would normally just not have said anything, but they did because they saw 2 or 3 people piling on, and just made it easier for them to be part of that group, because most people want to be a part of a group of some sort, whether it be positive or negative. It tends to be up to the person, but people tend to want to be a part of a group. And if they see a bunch of people kind of going at something, a lot of times they're more likely to do that. And another thing is, like, especially when it comes to technology, because it's much different. Like one of the more toxic communities is gaming. So PlayStation versus Xbox is ridiculous. Like, you never want to get involved. That's ridiculous. But
I have both. I'm like, they're previous gen, admittedly, but I have both. I have PC, Mac, PlayStation, Xbox. I have it all. A Switch, Game Boy.
Yeah, because who cares?
Atari,
it's game,
right?
Because that's what the matter. It's the fact that you can play these games. It's not like, oh my God, you're so much better because you have a PlayStation or an Xbox. But what I kind of, my hypothesis about a lot of it is that, and I even said this in one of the videos. I said, if I came over to your house and said your hammer sucks, you're probably gonna laugh at that, if nothing else. Like, you're probably not gonna worry about it. But if I came over to your house and said your house sucks, or your car sucks, something expensive, something that you had to work hard for, or even that you picked and you researched, it's easier to take that personally than it is something that's just kind of an ancillary tool that you don't really think too much about. And my whole point is, like, these are all tools. These phones and stuff, sure, it was a more expensive tool. It's a tool. It's not indicative of who you are. Doesn't make you any better. So if someone insults your tool, your hammer, your forks suck. Do you feel a certain way about that? Probably not. I think I even started the video by saying Samsung sucks, iPhone sucks, like all these things. I said, if you felt anything when I said any of those things, you probably need to watch the rest of this video, because you shouldn't feel anything. You really shouldn't feel anything. I should be able to say, Chris, that LED light behind you sucks. You need to get a better one. And you'd be like, oh, is there a better one? Like, maybe that might be your reaction, if anything, or no, it's good enough. But if I go, your Star Wars collection is terrible, like, now that's different, because that's part of you. Like, there's this visceral, like, wait a minute, what? How dare you?
Like, really? I would say,
well,
is yours? Yeah, but I'd say, is yours better?
Exactly. There's this kind of contention. So, but at the end of the day, like, I think that technology, to your point, is all about doing cooler stuff. Like, that's the thing. We can now do things we weren't able to do years ago. We can make a call across the world by video on our phone at any time. Remember when you used to be able to call across the country and it was long distance and it cost like $1 a minute?
Yeah.
On voice only?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, that's, you know, it's the democratization of everything. And that's what pulled me in initially to what technology could be as a transformative, how would you call it, like a pivot in terms of how we perceived ourselves and how we perceived ourselves as reflected in others. Because so much of the world exists from, you know, this bubble, right? What we've experienced, like our background, you know, what we've known, what we've seen, what we've heard. And the beauty of technology is that it has the potential of breaking down those barriers and eliminating them altogether, but you're still having to contend with identity, your identity, and feeling connected with others because they think the same or they might use the same product. That's where I feel the strength of community is challenged, where I might be using this camera and this microphone and this platform and this computer to communicate with you and broadcast live simultaneously, but at the end of the day, what matters is that you've got something that's powerful enough to do it and to handle it all. But at the end of the day, if we're not making a connection, and I don't just mean like a handshake, like in the classic modem sense. That was my best modem. I've been working on it. I don't know if you could tell. That's my era. If we're not making that human connection, what does technology mean?
Right.
What's the role it plays? I understand it advancing and making that connection better, because now instead of us just having a phone call back and forth at $1 a minute, right, now we can share this live video chat with each other, powered by a PC that's capable of handling our video, our audio, and a broadcast out so that other people can tap into that conversation. That's the power of technology. Forget about the specs. Forget about what what the conversation happens to be. That is what gets me excited when I talk about technology in general and how it improves our connection to one another and our ability to share our passions and interests and shared experiences, such that I can learn about your part of the world and you might learn about my part of the world, and we can better understand each other rather than being divided by what separates us. We can find a way to communicate and understand each other on a topic that we never would have imagined possible before.
100%. It's all just a tool to the connection with other people, which is the only thing in a lot of ways that ever really matters. That's why you see so many rich people that are miserable. They surround themselves with material things, and they don't have like human connections a lot of the times. I mean, not everybody, but there's a lot of people who are very wealthy and even famous that don't leave their multi-million-dollar house to do anything fun with other people because they've never grown that skill. The only skill they had was to be able to grow a business and be really good at it, and not be good with people. So at the end of the day, in my opinion, life is really about memories and experiences. And if you don't have memories and experiences, then I don't know that you can call it
What are
very
you
much
doing?
of a life.
Right. And that's,
They
I
don't.
think, honestly, Travis, that's probably my biggest problem with tech, is that people surround themselves with gadgets. And I'm saying this as someone who collects Star Wars crap. Um, to not to say that it dehumanizes, but it's a thing. And I understand Star Wars. I collect. There are things, but it's not meant. As a Star Wars
To
fan,
replace.
right? I wouldn't begrudge someone because someone likes comics and that's their Star Wars fandom, or because someone likes the cartoons, right? Or someone likes the movies, or someone likes the. I see it as sharing the same interest in connecting on that general sense rather than the specific sense. I have a problem with gatekeeping, with any fandom, whether it's tech or whether it's Star Wars or whatever it happens to be. And so people who have the fastest and latest and greatest thing is like, it's great, but what are you doing with it? Is it just bragging rights, or what are you doing with it? Like,
Yep.
what are you doing with it? Like, is it a collectible? Maybe, possibly, maybe if it's vintage, that era. But like, what are you doing with it? To your point, and I've also said the same thing. It's a tool, which is
Yeah.
great because I love using it as a tool.
Yeah. And again, if you're able to use it as a tool and then kind of do something bigger than itself, like for example, I got one of these projectors sent, these little home projectors sent to me from, I think it was Anchor or something. And one of my friends, one of my really good friends that I hang out and play board games with on like weekends and stuff, I was like, here, why don't you guys take it? I don't really need it. And it turns out that my friend's wife's mother had just gotten done surgery and was pretty much bedridden for a while. And when they took it to her, what they told me was like she was almost crying because it really made an impact on her. Because now she wasn't just sitting there looking at a wall, because she didn't really have like tablet stuff. She's an older lady. She can now like stream Netflix on the wall, and it would just project on her wall. And instead of feeling like she's stuck in her bedroom not doing anything, she can actually at least be entertained. And that made that little piece of hardware, which really was just sitting in a corner in a box in my room, actually helping someone and helping them through a moment where they're struggling. And
Enabling.
that was,
Thank you. Yes, I've long said tech is not a destination; it's an enabler, which is it's anathema to how 99.999% of tech YouTube works. It's talking about not this runs at 120 hertz. Okay, that's fine. What does that mean? What does that translate as? Well, it means that the animations that you see are more fluid, which makes it feel more natural, which makes the technology kind of melt away, where you just feel like you're just interacting with a natural object rather than this artificial, whatever the hell you would call this. And that's to me the enable portion of technology that I just don't see a lot of. I really don't. I don't see enough of, because it ends up coming back to, with technology discussions, what's the latest stuff? I mean, I admit, like, I'm kind of interested. Yeah, that looks interesting, but how would that fit? What does this mean? How is this additive? What?
who I think is really doing a good job of that right now on YouTube would be Jonathan Morrison. He's been doing it for a long time.
Well, and because he found his musician roots.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but like some of the stuff. I mean, for sure that like he's doing music videos and stuff like that.
Right.
And he's really showing like what you can do with like a simple phone or something and make like amazing videos and stuff. But even before that, like when he was doing like he would find people in need of tech and then like fix their tech up and bring it back to them, and just these really cool things that he was doing, really taking it beyond the piece of hardware and what it is to the human experience. Which yeah, his music channel and stuff is just, it's mind blowing, like how good he is at that stuff. So it's really inspiring to see that stuff for sure.
Well, because technology is an enabler,
Yeah.
right? It's
Hmm.
it's more about what it does, not what it is. And where I see a lot of tech YouTube anymore is it just talks about what it is, not
Yeah.
what it, what it does, what it enables. And I
Yeah. I need
wish,
to. I'm pretty good at some of that, but I need to be better about it. Like this conversation is really kind of um, pinpointing. One of the things that people used to come to me for, which is like, okay, what does this mean? What my good friend who's a pastor said, um, that when he was in back in, I think, high school or something, he was in a math class, and one of his friends who normally is like the class clown raised his hand. He said this thing stayed with him for the rest of his life, and ever since he told the story, it stayed with me. He goes, talks to the teacher, says, "Hey, I need to understand something about what we're learning. How does this help me buy a can of peas at the grocery store?" And something that's like so simple in that, yeah, how does this make my life easier? What you're telling me, how does this affect me? Like, how is this really going to connect with me? Is That's a pretty darn good question to try to answer in every video, and that's a pretty cool idea. I like it.
you know, it, it's very close to what I've learned, over all the years. As much as I love connecting with people, it's about recognizing not just the value of the connection you're making with another individual, but providing some degree of value uh, with this person, that person, the other person. I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to. I don't want to keep you, man. I'm like,
No, it's a Friday night. I'm not doing anything.
that's okay. No,
I'll probably be watching anyway.
it's okay. I'm like, I'm getting tired. I'm ready to.
Oh, well,
You
you have
know,
like 9 licorice to eat, so you need to do that real
I
quick.
will. I will. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I will be good.
It's funny.
I will be good. But it's Friday night, so I'm ready to. I'm like ready to bow out.
Feel that. Do we have any questions we can real quick answer from the chat before we
You
go?
can. I'm going to take a bio break.
Oh, okay. Do that. Let's do that thing. Let's see. Tech whispers to me. Causing social problems because of the prices of pro models. Yeah, I mean, I think that the social problems are more about the people than it is the tech. The prices are the way they are because people are buying them. The real problem is people are buying those things. So, for example, Apple has sold out of a like cloth to clean your screens. It's incredible. Incredible that that's a thing. But they literally have sold out of a $20 cleaning cloth because so many people are wrapped up in, I don't even know what they're wrapped up in. I honestly don't know why that would be something that would sell out, but it's kind of crazy. 9 licorice. Yeah, 9 licorice. I guess he's going to do that next time through. And there was a lot of gift subs today. What's going on? Nicer text. Chris, I think he went to the restroom. He went to go take a little bio break, and then he's probably going to fall out because he drank a lot of wine. Licorice. I barely can eat licorice. Black licorice, so I would never even, like, you guys couldn't pay me enough to do that. Yeah, value is a very personal thing too. Like, you might have a particular I'll just make something up. You might have a particular knife in your kitchen that you love because maybe you got it when you first moved into the house. It was a gift. You always keep it sharp. You love it. The value of that to you versus buying a new knife might be so great that you don't want to buy a new knife because there's like this sentimental value to it. So in a lot of ways, the value of that knife is more than the cost of the knife. So value is really, really an interesting topic. Comic age, and yeah, the conversation was great. Chris is amazing, and like I said, as someone who's been watching him for years and been participating in creating and that sort of stuff, for him to ask me on was awesome. I would jumped at the chance, of course. Really glad you guys and gals enjoyed it because we didn't really have like a list of things we were going to talk about. We just talked, so that was awesome. Storage units, yes. The fact that people have storage units, if you really think about storage units, is a pretty preposterous thing unless you are moving from one place to a temporary other place. But to have a storage unit when you live somewhere maybe indicates that you have too many things. Possibly. There are some exceptions, but generally speaking. My Nan has a knife that she's had over for 50 years, refuses to get rid of it. See, there's literally what I'm talking about, Kurt. Exactly what I'm talking about. You got an iPhone 7, so I'm a little behind. Nothing wrong with an iPhone 7. Still getting updates. As long as you're happy with it, it's all good. My personal value, and my professional value are two different things. Yes. What I would spend on myself, I would spend on my job, very different. Of course, 100%. You brought some great yeah. Listen, Chris is genius, so I just had to sit here and listen. I didn't have to say anything. You were awesome. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Value is unique to each individual. Price is a threshold where value meets quantity available. Darn right. You are 100% right on that. People don't trust a cloth to clean a laptop. One person buying it and saying they're friends that it's a special cloth for cleaning Apple products, inevitable it will sell out. It's so weird. If you go, it's just the silliest thing. I will ask real quick, Chris, what he thinks about that, because it's the top. It's the pinnacle of like brand loyalty. It's just the most ridiculous thing. Absolutely ridiculous thing. Yeah, there's just a bunch of I just remember watching Chris's streams years ago and watching the chat go by, and just like this, no one in the chair and people here chatting. It was amazing. I don't know how many of you were around in 2009, 10, 11, whatever, 2008 and 9, but it was a pretty crazy thing. It had a compatibility. Yeah, I saw the compatibility list, which is hilarious. I don't know if that was a joke or if they were being real, because I thought that was pretty funny. That the cloth had a compatibility list. That was amazing. I thought it was pretty funny that that it had that, but I thought it'd be funnier if they had like firmware upgrades. Like, yeah, there's an upgrade for your cleaning cloth. About the book from Apple. Everyone wants to have the cloth. Oh my god. I owned a repair shop once, and asking how I clean them was a question from every customer. Really? How you clean them was a question? People really cared about that, huh? Very strange. It's a Geekathon. How will I clean my iPhone 4S? Uh-oh. I got something going on here. Oh my gosh. The chair had a lot of screen time. That chair gets so much screen time. Let's see. It wasn't compatible with the XDR. No, why would it not be? I guess they don't want people. They don't want. So depending on the cloth, technically it could scratch something. So, I mean, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, is he making his own TP? Must be. Is he 3D printing his own TP? Could be. Hold on one second. Okay, let's see. Windows 7. I actually liked Windows 7 a lot. Windows 10 was pretty decent. Windows 10 was really good. Windows 7 was like, it was XP and then forget everything in between that and 7. Like just ignore everything between XP and 7. Anything that happened between, so actually it was 95 was decent, 98 SE, 98 was 98 SE was good. Everything between 98 SE and XP did not exist. And then everything between XP and Windows 7 did not exist. And then 7 to 10, pretty good. I don't know about 11. I'm curious, but I'm worried. I don't want to upgrade my system because I'm pretty happy with 10 right now. So, I mean, I guess I will eventually, but yeah, Windows Me did not exist. Actually, funny enough, I liked Windows Me. I actually really enjoyed Windows Me. Tell about my channel, my focus. So it's switched over the years, but most recently it's mostly tech for Apple users, really. I mean, I've kind of focused on Apple lately, although I've done reviews of things like headphones and speakers and all other types of stuff. So there's a lot of back content, but lately I've been doing a lot of content about Apple. 98 was okay if you slipstream the install. Yeah, that's true. It was good after all the patches. Yeah, I actually ended up liking Me, which was funny. I never really mentioned it because everyone's like, Windows Me? You like that? I made a video about Windows 8 and got 1 million views because no one knew how to use it inside. That makes total sense. Windows 8 was like a thing that I barely can remember. I can barely remember that it was a thing. It's so crazy. Do you find you get more pushback with bad negative review of tech? Oh, so that's a really good question. Do I get more pushback? Not necessarily, but you get more views, which is kind of weird. the negative kind of title and thumbnail tends to get more views than the positive, and I think that's a cultural thing. I think it's an unfortunate human thing. If you think about it, like when you're watching racing cars, you're waiting for the crash. It's the same idea. That's really unfortunate to say that, but really, I think people are looking for the bad in things. Although, think about it like this: if you go online and you're looking for reviews of like the newest phone or the newest gadget, and you see all the reviews and they're mostly positive, you're always in the back of your mind going, "Well, what's the bad thing?" So let me find one of the reviews that talks about the bad things, because you just want to know. You know, nothing's perfect. So you're thinking, yeah. It was a made up. I'm actually from Delaware. I thought it was a made up thing like Delaware. I'm literally from Delaware. Yeah, 8.1 was pretty decent, but I don't even think I installed it on anything. Yeah, Windows 8 was just very weird. Made up thing like Delaware. What's a Delaware? A Delaware is the first state. Thank you very much. Excuse you. And it was in Wayne's World. They talked about it in Wayne's World. It was, yeah. Oh no. Dang. My dog just, he did his little business in the hallway. He's been having problems the last couple of days. I gotta go check him out. How dare you represent? No sales tax. That's what I'm saying. No sales tax in Delaware. I wish to fix settings and tabs to Windows. See, okay, here. Do not know about these freedom provinces. Explorer. Who uses Edge? Just out of curiosity, because I know it's gotten a lot better. Here, who in the chat uses Edge? I'm curious. I don't currently, but I'm considering it. I still use Chrome, which I know is almost cringe at this point, but it kind of is what it is. But to me, it's in Newark, Delaware. Yeah, I used to go up to Newark quite a bit. Yeah, my little doggy's an older guy. He's a miniature dachshund. I'll have to check on him here in a minute since Chris comes back. Edge beta on Pop OS. I haven't heard of Pop OS. That's cool. Chrome all the way. Chrome there. A lot of Chrome users. Yeah. You know, Edge now uses Chromium, so it's kind of, I mean, I've heard really good things about it. I hear it's light. I remember, did anyone remember the commercials or the little ads where they showed how much faster and light Chrome was than Firefox? This was years ago when Firefox was like so heavy and slow, and Chrome didn't come out of nowhere, but they had optimized it so much that it was like super fast and stuff. And I've kind of kept that in my mind until now. I check my task manager. I'm like, oh my god, how many gigs is each tab using? It's insane. When I'm feeling frisky, feeling lucky. Firefox, don't judge me. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. Edge is so much faster than Chrome. That's what I've heard. Chris looks different. Yeah, I know, right? Edge and Chrome. Okay, Edge was a little too late for me, even after the Chromium switch. Oh, really? So you're already kind of locked in, huh? And that's if you can keep chatting. Of course, I can keep chatting. I'm still chatting away. I might have to give Edge a try. I might have to give Edge a try again too. I think for me, Edge is when I actually started legitimately thinking about it is when Austin Evans on YouTube did like a video talking about Edge, and he was like, "Yeah, it's great." And I was like, I might gotta give it a shot. So I'll probably check that out. I'll probably install it here. Well, I have the one that comes with Windows 10. I don't know if that one's upgraded though. I don't know if I've updated it to get the Chromium version. What else is going on? Supposed to keep the train going. And I vibe off of what the chat says. So if you have questions or comments, I'd love to talk about it. And then I've got, as soon as Chris gets back, I got to pop. I got some stuff I got to do. What else? Trying to Edge a little better. Old taste from all the years. Oh, the original Edge. Yeah, the original Edge was, I don't know. The old Edge is, yeah, it's been retired, so it's not. You don't even get that anymore. Oh, Windows or Mac OS. So I use Windows. However, I have a video on my channel that's actually done pretty well, where I use Mac OS for the first time. Because I bought a MacBook Air for the first time this past year, so I have a couple videos about that, and kind of a Windows user using Mac OS for the first time. It's meant to be kind of funny because I literally kind of plop around. I don't know where anything is. So if that sort of thing interests you, where you see a Windows user trying to use Mac OS, you can go to my channel and check that out. There's a couple of videos about using the new MacBook Air earlier this year. I'm using Linux, Threadripper, loading up hundreds of tabs to test it out. Not quite stable on Linux, but it's faster than Firefox. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's the thing. So that's what I want to see. It's like how is the memory management on Edge versus Chrome. Like, is it much better? Is it really that much better? I mean, it totally could be. I mean, it sounds like, at least on Linux, it is. I'm really curious, like, what's the difference? If I load the exact same tabs up, what happens? The exact same tabs. Like, is the RAM usage lower without taking into consideration the operating system itself? But if we had, like, I'm just curious. I might give that a shot. See what that looks like. Hundreds of tabs, though. That's got... Oh, did you watch? There's a video on... I think Jonathan Morrison's channel where he tries to open up how many. I think he tries to open up as many tabs on Chrome as possible to fill up one of the MacBooks. I forget how much RAM he had, and just wanted to keep open and see how many tabs he get before it just completely crapped out. Yeah, I might have to test that out. I'm really curious about that. Like, if you look at it, like, which one is using less RAM, because that's always what you want, something that's a little bit more optimized. And it just feels like Chrome isn't really optimized anymore. It still works fine, but it doesn't feel very optimized. One stop away. I got my Amazon Fresh coming. Anyone else getting home delivery for their groceries? I have not gone. Well, I went to a grocery store today, but I can count on one hand how many times I've gone to the grocery store in the last year. One hand, easily. Using a 5 gigabit, a 5 GB. Same with Nightly. It's using 5 gigabit. That's not bad. 5 gigabytes. What? Oh, the nightly. The nightly updates? Is that what you're talking about? I don't have that much up. Say a few videos. Things. Yeah, I'm really curious. I'm really curious to see. I mean, obviously, nothing's very. Yeah, Firefox Nightly. Yeah, it's not like any of these browsers are particularly bad, especially if you have enough RAM. Like, they all kind of perform the same for the most part. But it's nice to be able to have an extra RAM for when you're. Because I'll play like a game on one screen, and then I'll have like different browsers open, and Chrome can just take up a whole couple extra gigs. I'm not always happy with the produce. Yeah, so it depends. Like, I'm pretty picky with like what produce I'll use. I'm actually not all that picky. I should be. I need to be a lot more picky. But for me, the convenience I can't not do it anymore. I can't not do it anymore. With a couple terabytes of RAM. Yeah, Linus Tech Tips. Linus is he's like 2 hours from where I live. Brave was okay in a pinch. I accepted Chrome as RAM. I'll use 64 gigs on my workstation and 32 on my laptops. Oh my gosh. You just straight up go, listen, 32 minimum. That's a lot of RAM. The funny thing is, that used to be how much storage there were on computers. Now that's how much RAM we're using. It's insane. Insane. Let's see. Well, and why hasn't Google addressed this? By the way, why haven't they addressed the fact that it is a RAM hog? Like, let me look how much am I using right now? I'm curious. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs open. That's it. Which of course one of them is Twitch, and I mean, it's just crazy. So the other ones are like my YouTube analytics, a Twitter page, Twitch. It's 4 tabs and it's over a gig. Like, why? Why am I using a gig? I don't understand. I don't like that Chrome is trying to change web standards for their purpose. It's good that we have other options too. My last one was 64 gigs, so it's funny how much RAM. Exactly right, Kurt. Exactly right. Yeah, I think Google, being kind of the arbiter of all things tech, especially on the internet, gives them a lot of power, and being able to say, hey, we also have the browser that you want to use, and we'll just see if we can get some web standards to fit with us better. Yeah, maybe play a game, Flight Sim, and watch some vids or something. Yeah, and that's a good point. Like, the more RAM, the better, of course, always. Firefox still has 1 gig. Is that for how many tabs? Well, you would have to have the same tabs I have open. Chrome's sitting at about 5 gigabytes for me right now with 35 tabs open. I guess that's reasonable. It depends on what's on those tabs. I guess it really depends. You need to go. I'll have a space. Yeah. You know what? I actually kind of do this. I do have to run. I don't know if Chris is coming back or not. I do have to run. I have something that just happened that I need to address. But listen, I appreciate all the community being so cool. I'm usually in chat, so I will definitely come through there if you're interested. I'm usually on YouTube or Twitter, so you can always find me there. And just let me know that you saw me here, because I just love being here and being a part of Chris's community. So thank you so much for joining us. And I guess we're gonna raid somebody. You can just download more RAM and get it. As someone who used to do tech support, that is a hilarious joke. I love that. I used to do tech support, so I get, oh, there's
Thank
Chris.
you, man. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries.
I got
No
caught
worries.
up with something, but
That's all right. We're gonna head out anyway. So,
cool.
but I was just telling everyone thank you and everything. And
no worries. No worries whatsoever. We're
Awesome.
just gonna raid somebody, so
Yeah.
all good. Really
Guys.
appreciate it. No,
Appreciate
thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate you spending the time with us. I'm
much
sorry.
fun.
I ended up getting. I'll get into it later. I hit a hiccup, so we're gonna raid somebody. Thank you, Travis.
No
Really
worries.
appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's a long story.
No worries.
But
I think probably something randomly happened that normally would never happen.